Hello, my name is Simon Owens, and this is part of my ongoing video series about how content creators are creating paid subscription services. Today, I'm bringing you an interview with Ben Cohen. Several years ago, Ben launched a political opinion site called the Daily Banter, and over time, he built up its audience to over 1 million visitors a month. While he made the bulk of his money through advertising, he also decided to diversify his revenue by launching a paid membership subscription service where readers pay anywhere from $4 to $6 a month to get access to exclusive content. I interviewed Ben about how he created his membership services and how he grew them to over 1,000 subscribers. Okay, let's jump into it. Here's my interview with Ben. Hey Ben, thanks for joining me.
Hey, what's up, Simon?
Tell me a little bit about you in the perspective of how. So you run this blog or this news website called the Daily Banter. Can you give us kind of like the elevator pitch? What's the kind of like? When did you start it, and kind of tell us about what the Daily Banter actually is?
Oh, I started the site way back in 2007, just as a personal kind of a blog. And then as we kind of grew in size and I built a network of other political sites that I helped run advertising on, I think a couple of years after I did that, that grew in size. And then I decided to launch the Daily Banter as a standalone, proper news website in 2012. And basically, it's grown in size over the last 5 years. To the point where we now get, roughly 500,000 uniques a month, anywhere from 500,000 to 1 million uniques a month, depending on the season. When there's elections, it's bigger traffic. When there are no elections, there's less traffic. But we are a kind of a snarky political commentary site. We don't just write about politics; we write about culture and media and sports occasionally as well. As in the title, banter, so it's a kind of a conversational style. We encourage a lot of, commenting and interaction, and we do a podcast as well that I've just launched. But the main thing is a kind of a platform for writers of a like mind to kind of speak their truth and have a space to kind of say what's on their mind and talk about the issues of the day.
Mm-hmm. So it's mainly opinion pieces, like riffing off of what's happening. Usually, most often, based on my reading of it, of American politics and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's predominantly US focused politics, about 80 to 90%, I would say.
Mm-hmm. And based on my speaking with you in the past, you are heavily social driven sites. Like you get a lot of traffic from Facebook. You guys quite often. You see a lot of your traffic from like individual viral posts that will take off often on Facebook or shared by some like huge influencer or something like that.
That has been the case. I mean, it's a little bit trickier now with the Facebook algorithm changes and how the news feed has been calibrated. So yeah, we get fairly steady direct traffic. Actually, most of our traffic is direct now. Mm-hmm. But we have had in the past huge Facebook, particularly on Facebook, we've had huge Facebook hits, much less now though, so than before. So mm-hmm. We've lost about, I would say 60 to 70% of our Facebook traffic has sort of evaporated over the last year.
So you've been really kind of focused on just building your brand so people will actually seek out your content.
Yeah, exactly. The focus has always been on the quality and not on the quantity or we don't go for the cheap hit, the cheap, click on this headline and to find out who said what. We don't engage in clickbait. In fact, we kind of explicitly set out to not do that, to engage in clickbait.
Mm-hmm. And so we're going to be talking about your membership platform, but for the most of the history of the site, it has been primarily monetized through advertising, correct?
Yeah, most of our ad revenue comes from advertising. I would say probably 60 to 70% comes from advertising.
So it's like CPM display type advertising, right?
Yes, it's done with it's by standard ad management. It's we don't manage our own ad inventory. The Say Media, who runs our platform, we have it on Tempest, which is a custom built platform by Say Media. And everything's programmatic. They've got people working on that around the clock to optimize our ad revenue.
hmm Yeah, and so I did a little bit of reporting on this a few months ago, as you know. Like, you guys originally you were on WordPress. You were basically managing, like you were plugged into all the kinds of ad networks, and then you joined up with this company called Say Media, and they were like, we're going to handle not only the tech side, but we're going to sell your advertising. We'll take a small cut. Then all you have to do is just worry about building your audience, and we'll take care of the rest.
Yes.
And based on our conversations, you said that has actually worked out really well for you.
It's worked out very well for us. Exactly. It seems that the balance right now is good. It works well. We have a Facebook advertising as well, which we use Facebook Instant, and so that's actually been pretty good for us too.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of a mix. Yeah, the balance of relationships we have now with Facebook, with Say Media, and with our subscription platform works pretty good.
Mm-hmm. So tell me about the subscription platform in the sense of, like, when did you first kind of start dreaming it up, and what were your thoughts, like what was kind of your reason for thinking, like, I need to get beyond a purely advertising based business model?
Firstly, the CPMs we were getting back then were not that great, so we would have to generate an immense amount of traffic to be sustainable. This is back in 2014, so there were a lot of paywalls were kind of emerging at that time, around 2012 onwards, as I recall. And I'd always been interested in them and always kind of looked at what could we potentially get into that at some point. And I think after a couple of years running the site, or over 18 months running the site, we'd built up a reasonable brand, reasonable kind of brand loyalty. And I'd seen people like Andrew Sullivan, who created his own, he'd got 30,000 subscribers within a matter of months. So I took a lot of inspiration from that and realized, okay, look, we can't rely on ad revenue. It's not sustainable. We would go from ad vendor to ad vendor, and some of it would last. We'd have a relationship for a few months, and then the CPMs would always decline. This is the same story over and over and over and over again. So we're working with third-party vendors, and that just wasn't. I just didn't see it as being a sustainable business strategy for the long term of the site. So we invested pretty heavily into going into Paywall, going into members content, which was very painful. But we built enough of a subscriber base for it to make a difference.
Mm-hmm. So tell me about what your thinking was in terms of the paywall. So, like Andrew Sullivan, he had kind of like what the New York Times does with a metered paywall. Other platforms, they keep most of their stuff for free, and then they create some kind of premium content. And then yet other platforms, like everything's free, they just try to kind of create almost like a donation model. What was your kind of thinking about how you could structure a paywall to where you wouldn't like cannibalize your free traffic, while at the same time, like the traffic that you were monetizing with advertising, while at the same time providing enough value to paying members to where it was worth them subscribing?
So we tried everything. We tried all of it. We tried metering content. We tried premium content. We turned the paywall off. We turned it on again. We tried everything to see what the sweet spot was for us. Mm-hmm. And over time, we've moved away from a meter to more of a premium content strategy, because just through trial and error, and also the fact that we're quite limited by the technology that we have. We're on the small side. Our operation's not big, so we can't afford to invest heavily into very sophisticated paywall, a paywall platform. So we've had to use an out of the box.
Yeah. It's not like the New York Times where they have like an entire 30-person team to designed to just basically refine and work on their paywall and
we don't capture people's emails. We don't capture, if someone signs on for a day, we don't even get access to their email. So I'm not hitting people up on email and asking that you're following up, and it's quite basic what we're able to do, but it's hard to really, it's kind of like reading tea leaves. I liken it to. It's like Facebook traffic. You don't know what articles people are going to convert on, what articles people are going to like enough to say, okay, I'm gonna pay to read that, or I'm going to pay to be a member now. my instinct is that it's a combination of factors. It's a combination of like, we have enough free content for people to know what we do, that we're all, authentic. We do original content. Everything we say is fact checked and sourced. That we've built up enough credibility to the point where people are willing to pay for, for what we're writing. And the premium content strategy appears to be the best thing for us right now. We're holding pretty steady. It goes up and down like everything, like traffic does. So does our, Paywall. So does paid content. It goes up and down. Sometimes we'll lose, many subscribers in a month. Sometimes we'll lose none at all, and we'll gain a lot. It's really seasonal and quite difficult to pin down. But I would say the overall thing has been because of our focus on the quality. I believe that's what's people are not going to pay for something that they don't believe is genuine and authentic. And the people behind it are very passionate about what they're doing.
So let's say I want to become a paying subscriber to the Daily Banter. How much am I paying, and what happens once I become a subscriber?
Depending on the deal that we're running, you're going to pay anywhere from $3.99 to $5.99 a month for access. Usually we have some promotion going on, and that gets you access to all the premium content. Or you can pay yearly, around $39.99 a year for a membership. We occasionally run promotions where we do, it's 30 days free or 6 weeks free, or so people can read the content for free.
And what platform are you using to process these payments?
At the moment, we use Piano, which was formerly TinyPass. It's the company that Andrew Sullivan used. We're actually going to be moving. Tempest is building out their own platform, so we're going to be switching to that soon, which will make a lot of our headaches go away.
So you're paying $3.99 to $5.99 a month. So once I'm in that subscriber base, what's happening after that? What am I receiving, or how am I accessing the premium content? Like, what kind of content are you creating, and how are you delivering it?
So due to technological limitations, we have to host our members only content on a separate site. So that's cool. We host it on Banter M, which is a Squarespace site that I built specifically to host all of our paid content, just because we couldn't run Piano Media on Tempest, because that was they would only use their own they weren't going to take a third-party application onto their platform. So you want to read the paid content, you go on to banterm.com and you can access all our premium content.
And you have to have a login, and that's how you do it?
Yeah, there'll be an email login, and you can go and do that. It's pretty straightforward. Some people find it a bit tricky. That's why we're quite excited to be able to go on to just one platform.
So tell me about your premium content. What is it? How does it differ? How is it different from what you're offering on the free site? How much are you producing of it?
So we produce about 4 paid content pieces a week. And that is probably about 20% of our output in terms of work. We put a lot of effort into the paid content. So they're always over 1,000 words. They're always more in depth. They're usually some of them are quite personal. I recently went on a trip down to Peru, to the Amazon jungle, and I'm writing a 5-part series on that. So that will total way over 10,000 words. So, and it's not something that I would publish on for free or publicly. So things like that, much more personal, much more intimate stuff that our readers, we've built our kind of brand, but I don't even like the word brand, but it's a site with personality. And people want to know, what we do in our personal lives, and that's where we write about it. It's and it's not, there's no formula for what we write for members content, but it has to be, that's where our real high quality stuff goes, our long form stuff goes.
So something on the free site is something that would appeal to anybody, even a more drive-by reader who doesn't even know who you are. Whereas the stuff that you're creating for the membership is really kind of based on the assumption that these people are your most hardcore fans. They want that kind of like extra personal touch. They're willing to read just like an essay, something that might be a little bit more about you as a person than something that like might appeal to like a drive-by reader who doesn't know who you are.
Exactly. That's exactly what we're doing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So in terms of like growing your membership, what was the kind, you said you tested out several different things before you got to this. How did you get new subscribers? Like what was your call to action? How did you get them into kind of the funnel where they were eventually circling down and actually becoming paid subscribers? Like how do you grab these readers and convert them?
More premium content. You know, the more premium content you produce, the more people subscribe. So you have to have something new to offer them. That's what we discovered when we ran the meter. That wasn't really the case. So people would just run out of, you know, page views to read, and they didn't really necessarily see. There wasn't anything particular that caught their eye. So when we moved switching to a premium kind of membership base was I think a smarter move, because it gave people something specific to purchase. You know, mm-hmm. There was an article they really liked. Mm-hmm. You know, they would convert on that.
And like, what was the call to action? Like, are they landing on one of your free articles and there's something at the end trying to pitch them on becoming a subscriber? Like what's that?
We do that. We do that. There's a calls to action. We have very little feedback as to whether that works. I think it does. Mm-hmm. But I think the majority of it's a factor of over time, people get familiar with you and who you are. And we do some of our personal writing on the free site too, on the main mm-hmm. site. So mm-hmm. it's not all just behind the wall. So people do get to kind of know who we are. And we do make an effort to do that as well.
Mm-hmm. And what trends are you noticing in terms of when you see spikes in memberships? Like, is it seasonal? Like at the new year, is that where you're seeing a lot when people are like, you know, subscribing or unsubscribing to their stuff at the end of the year? Or is it based on like when a piece gets like really viral, you'll see like an uptick, or you have a particularly high traffic month? What kind of trends are you noticing in terms of like when people actually convert?
People convert. No, it doesn't necessarily have anything to do with the traffic. We can have a very low traffic month and get a lot of new subscribers, paid subscribers, which is, you know, I've never been able to work that one out, but that tends to happen quite often. Is that we get new subscribers with little traffic. When there's high volume traffic, subscription rarely does as well for whatever reason. I think that's mostly because of the viral nature of some of the content that we've produced, you know, that it's taken off on Facebook or whatever. And I don't think it's not really indicative of how deeply people are reading the site. Mm-hmm. It's really for those, you know, those 100,000 odd people who come to the site every day and click on the site every day. I think those are the ones that convert. And it's usually based on what kind of content we're producing. Oftentimes, you know, it's what do we come up with today, you know? And there is no formula I don't think there's a great formula for that, other than quality, other than people believing in that what you've written is of value, and it's you've put your heart and soul into it, and people tend to convert on those articles.
Mm-hmm. Can you give me a sense of the trajectory of your subscriber growth over time? Like, you know, from the time you launched it, how long did it take before, like, was it like, did you see like an immediate rush of people who had been just waiting to like wanting to pay you and like an audience just waiting there? Or like, was it a slow drip? Like, when did you start feeling like you were building like real momentum in terms of building a paying subscribership?
We had an initial burst, and then it was a slow trickle. It's been a slow trickle, and I think you know, that's unless there's a kind of a huge like with the election of Trump, we significantly grew our subscriber base. Mm-hmm. With the election of Trump, that was a huge deal for us.
Mm-hmm. So like after the election, you were like, you know, we're part of the resistance. Did you write something like that? Like if you want to support this kind of stuff, like this is the time to subscribe.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. That's what after Trump was elected, I wrote an essay. You can still see it on the front page of the site. If you scroll down about halfway down the site, you'll see an article based on what we plan to do about the Trump administration.
Hmm.
And
And
that got us a lot of new subscribers.
hmm yeah, and it seems like a lot of news sites saw that kind of similar bump, like everyone from the New York Times to Vanity Fair to the New Yorker. Like it seems like the populace as a whole started realizing with the kind of proliferation of fake news and really kind of shoddy media sources that paying for high quality content was important. It seemed to be some kind of cultural moment, right?
I believe so. Yeah, I believe so. The need for fact checks, reputable media companies to be funded was, I think the public kind of started to understand that you can't, you're not going to get good information unless you pay for it
Hmm.
and
Okay.
it's funded properly.
And then can you give us any kind of sense of how successful your Paywall's been? Like in terms of, is it in the hundreds of subscribers, thousands of subscribers? Like how, like in terms of like overall revenue, how, like a percentage of your overall revenue? Like give us a sense of how successful it's been in helping you kind of diversify your income.
It's it's been very successful in terms of providing us enough revenue per month to see us through bad months,
Hmm.
when we don't have good amount of traffic,
Hmm.
and the ad revenue is cut down. We hover around, in and around 1,000 subscribers. That goes up and down
Hmm.
depending on the season. It's a good. I hope when we move on to the new platform next year, that's going to be a big help because that will help grow the subscriber base. Um, you know, uh,
Hmm.
so it's been a huge, it's absolutely key to our operation. Like without it, we'd be I wouldn't be able to continually pay writers and provide them enough revenue to make it worth their while to write continuously.
Hmm. Uh, like, so what are your thoughts are about the industry as a whole? Because we're seeing a lot of like basically any kind of advertising growth that's going on the internet now is going to Facebook and Google. They're getting above like over 90% of all new advertising dollars that are migrating online. You're seeing a lot of companies like BuzzFeed and Vice miss their revenue projections. You're seeing companies like Mashable basically sell themselves in fire sales well way below their valuations. It seems like the advertising marketplace is cratering somewhat, and the scalability isn't there. And you're seeing more and more of these news organizations erect these paywalls. What do you think this means about the future of media, and the whether like is this kind of like where we're going basically?
Yeah, I think the trends are quite overall. It's a mixture of being quite positive and quite negative. Like there's some very alarming trends I'm seeing,
Mm-hmm.
with dominance of Facebook and Google when it comes to advertising, and then probably Amazon. Now they're in the game.
Mm-hmm.
The paywall, when it comes to locking off content, um, is that good? I mean, to me, there's never been. I don't think there's ever been a time in history when you could have read things for free,
Mm-hmm.
up until recently. So I don't think that really changes anything in terms of like you're always going to have to pay for high quality content. If you wanted
Mm-hmm.
to buy, you wanted to read the New Yorker 30 years ago, you had to buy it.
Yeah.
You wanted to read the New York Times, you had to buy it.
Mm-hmm.
I think I do see that being quite positive in that a lot of these companies are able to now generate substantial revenue for themselves through a paywall.
Mm-hmm.
That's positive. But it's as the media landscape splinters into ever increasingly isolated echo chambers, and you can game the system with advertising and clickbait content on social media channels. It's a fragmented dystopia I see, and yeah, there's a lot to be concerned about as well. I think as well, and media companies, and generally speaking, unless you've got a billionaire backer, it's rough. It's rough out there.
Mm-hmm. So you're kind of saying that like the last 10 years of ad-supported free media has been kind of like a historical anomaly, and that we're merely just returning back to the norm, and we're figuring out ways to get people to just pay for content again, as the economics of content would dictate.
Yes, exactly. And I think that there is a big problem with the platforms. The platforms that's why I think that anybody who has one strategy, like we're going to produce content on YouTube or we're going to produce content on Facebook, this is doomed to failure, because they're not interested. Those companies are interested in their own bottom line, not yours. And they will, cut off ad revenue like that. If they change their strategy. Like Facebook changes its algorithm every month, and we can lose 50% of our traffic because of it, because they've decided to and that. So if you're reliant on one avenue, I think that's it's a bad idea. So you want to have multiple revenue streams, multiple ways that your content is monetizable. That would be my advice for anybody in this game.
Yeah. All right. Well, Ben, those were all the questions I had. Thanks so much for taking the time to talk to me.
Thank you very much, Simon.
All right. Have a great rest of your day.
You too, man.
Okay, that's all I have for you today. Thanks so much for tuning in, and definitely subscribe to my channel.